Hello friends, this is the fourth lecture of lecture series on colligative properties. Today we will discuss in detail about depression in freezing point. The main topic that we are going to discuss today are freezing point and freezing. Then we will discuss depression in freezing point of a solution. Then we will derive a very important formula which shows the relation of depression in freezing point with the concentration of the solution. Next, we will see how we can determine molecular weight of non-volatile solute from depression in freezing point measurements. And then we will see some experimental methods to determine depression in freezing point. Now let us, as we all know that colligative properties are properties of dilute solutions which depends only upon the number of particles of solute present and they are independent of the nature of solute. There are basically four colligative properties out of which we have already discussed lowering of vapor pressure, osmotic pressure, and elevation in boiling point of solvent. I have kept the links of these video lectures in the description section of my video. You can check it there. Today we will discuss in detail about depression in freezing point of solvent. So first let us see what is freezing. Freezing is a process through which a substance changes from a liquid to a solid. In simple words, transformation of liquid to solid is called freezing. So we all know that liquid water changes to solid ice as we cool the water below 0 degrees Celsius. So a pure liquid begins to freeze when the temperature is lowered to the substance freezing point. So this is zero, the temperature at which a liquid freezes is called its freezing point. Like for water, it is 0 degrees Celsius. Now the next question which comes to our mind is why do liquids freeze on cooling? Because on cooling, the particles no longer have enough energy to overcome the forces of attraction between them. In simple words, we can say that as we decrease the temperature, the kinetic motion of the particles of the liquid decreases and they slow down. So a stage comes when their position become fixed. So that state corresponds to solid state. That is the reason why liquids freeze on cooling. Now at freezing point, the liquid and solid states of a substance are in equilibrium with each other. Both the states will occur at freezing point, or in other words, we can say that at freezing point, it is the temperature at which liquid and solid states of a substance they have same vapor pressure. If we apply this to water, means the temperature at which liquid water and solid ice they have same vapor pressure, that temperature will be called freezing point of a solvent. Now what will happen if we add a non-volatile solute to a solvent? We will observe depression in freezing point. A solution always has less freezing point than pure solvent. The solution prepared by addition of non-volatile solute will always freeze at lower temperature than pure solvent. Now, this can easily be explained on the basis of lowering of vapor pressure of solution. Now, let us see this diagram. Now, this diagram shows three curves. Now, let us see what are these curves. The curve AB, this is the vapor pressure curve of liquid solvent. water. Suppose the solvent is water, then we can say this is a vapor pressure curve of pure water. This curve you have already seen in our lecture of boiling point. This from this curve we can see that the vapor pressure of water increases with increase in temperature. Now the curve BC is the vapor pressure curve for solid ice. Now you all have seen that whenever we open the freezer of our refrigerator, you also see some fumes. These are vapors. So solid ice also vaporizes and it forms some vapors. This process is called sublimation. The conversion of solid directly to vapors is called sublimation. This curve CB is the vapor pressure curve of solid water, or we can say ice. Again, this curve shows that the vapor pressure of ice or solid solvent, it increases with the increase of temperature. Now let us draw here. Suppose this is the vapor pressure curve of liquid and this is the vapor pressure curve of solid ice. Now, as already explained in our previous slide, freezing point is the temperature at which the vapor pressure due to the liquid state and solid state they are same. So the point B, this point B, it lies on the curve CB as well as BA. At this point B, the vapor pressure due to liquid solvent is equal to the vapor pressure due to solid solvent. So this point B is called freezing point of, this B is the freezing point of liquid solvent, suppose water. So B corresponds to the freezing point of water. Now this we have already explained. Now what happens if we add a non-volatile solute to the solvent? We all know that whenever we add a non-volatile solute to the solvent, its vapor pressure decreases. So the vapor pressure curve of the solution will be lower than the vapor pressure curve of pure solvent. Why? Because its vapor pressure at all temperatures is less than the vapor pressure of solvent. So now when the solvent in this solution will freeze, it will freeze when this curve will touch the CB curve. Now you can see this curve is touching the CB curve at point E. So this point E corresponds to the freezing point of solvent in solution. Now you can see that at point this E temperature is Ts, which is the freezing point of solution, and at point B the temperature is T naught, which is the freezing point of solvent. So at point E, the solvent in the solution will start freezing. So this point E, it corresponds to the freezing point of the solvent in solution and we denote it by Ts. Now you can see from this graph that this Ts is left hand side of the T naught, means Ts from this graph we can see Ts is less than T naught, where Ts is the freezing point of solvent in solution, T naught is the freezing point of pure solvent. So we can say that when we add a non-volatile solute to a liquid solvent, the freezing point of solvent, it decreases. This difference T naught minus Ts between the freezing point of pure solvent and freezing point of the solution solvent in the solution by when we prepare the solution by addition of non-volatile solute is called depression in freezing point and it is denoted by delta Tf. So what is delta Tf? It is simply the difference between freezing point of pure solvent and the freezing point of solvent in the solution, which will be lesser than the freezing point of pure solvent. Now let us see how to derive a relation between depression in freezing point and the concentration of the solution. This relation is similar to the one that we have derived for elevation in boiling point. That relation was delta TB, where delta TB was elevation in boiling point is equal to KB into M. So similar to that, we will derive this relation using two laws. First, Clausius-Clapeyron equation, then we will apply Raoult's law. As already discussed from our previous lecture, Clausius-Clapeyron equation, it shows the variation of vapor pressure with the temperature, and this equation is given by ln P2 by P1 is equal to delta H by R 1 by T1 minus 1 by T2, where 1 and 2 corresponds to any 2 points on a particular curve. These can be 1, 2. We can apply this equation to these 2 points. We can apply this equation to these 2 points. We can apply this equation to these any 2 points lying on a same curve, but we cannot apply this equation to this point and this point because they are lying on the different curve. So this is the Clausius-Clapeyron equation that we will use. So this derivation is exactly similar to the derivation that we did for elevation in boiling point. The only difference is that we have to apply the Clausius-Clapeyron equation 2 times. First, we will apply for this solid vapor equilibrium on this curve CB. Then we will apply the Clausius-Clapeyron equation on solution vapor equilibrium, that is on ED curve. Let us see. So this P1 is the vapor pressure at a temperature T1 that we already know. P2 is the vapor pressure at temperature T2, and delta H is the molar latent heat of transition, means the amount of heat required to change the substance from one state to another. Now today in freezing, the state changes from liquid to solid. Now let us apply this equation first to solid vapor equilibrium. Now the equation is, for your reference, I have again written this equation. This is the Clausius-Clapeyron equation. Now let us see, we have to apply this on solid vapor equilibrium. First identify where is the solid vapor curve. This CB curve is the solid vapor curve, which shows the variation of vapor pressure of solid solvent with the temperature. Now we will apply this equation on these 2 points E and B. Let us suppose give number 1 to E and number 2 to B. Now let us apply this equation. At point 2 for B, the vapor pressure is P naught and the temperature is T naught. At point E, which we have denoted as 1, the vapor pressure is P and the temperature is Ts. Now let us apply log of P2. P2 is P naught. P naught by log of P1. P1 is P. So ln P naught by P is equal to, now here the process is solid to vapors. It is called sublimation. So we have write delta HS, which is the enthalpy of sublimation. R is gas constant. Now what is T1? T1 corresponds to this temperature. It is 1 by Ts. And what is T2? T2 is corresponds to this state B. It is T naught. So the equation becomes ln P naught by P is equal to delta HS by R 1 by Ts minus 1 by T naught. Then where delta HS is molar latent heat of sublimation. Sublimation is a process in which a solid is directly converted to the vapor state without having liquid state. Now, if we solve this equation, it becomes ln P naught by P is equal to delta HS by R T naught minus Ts divided by T naught Ts by simply solving this bracket. Now we know that T naught minus Ts. T naught minus Ts is a depression in freezing point denoted by delta Tf. So putting this value here at here, the equation becomes ln P naught by P is equal to delta Hs by R delta Tf divided by T naught Ts. Now we know that the colligative property is applied to very dilute solutions, and when the solution is dilute, Ts and T naught they will be very close to each other. So we can replace this Ts by T naught in this expression, and the expression becomes ln P naught by P is equal to delta Hs by R delta Tf T naught square. We have put Ts equal to T naught as the solution is dilute. So please remember this equation, give it equation number 2 because we have to use it again. Now let us apply this equation to solution vapor equilibrium. So now this is the equation and I will again draw the diagram. The diagram here, now we have to apply it at solution vapor. This is the solution. Solution curve is here. So we apply it to the points E and F because these 2 points they lie on the solution vapor curve. If point E number 1 and point F number 2. So at 1 the temperature is the pressure is P, temperature is Ts. At 2 pressure is Ps, temperature is T naught. Now let us write what the equation will become. The equation will become ln P2. So P2 is at this point it is Ps ln Ps by P1. P1 is the pressure at point 1, it is P. ln Ps by P is equal to delta Hv. Now the change is from liquid to vapor. So we have written vaporization. Delta Hv is enthalpy of vaporization. Delta Hv by R. Now 1 by T1. T1 corresponds to temperature at this point. It is Ts. 1 by Ts minus 1 by T2, where T2 is the temperature corresponding to point 2, it is T naught. So the equation becomes this. I hope it is clear to you. Now again solving it, we can write it ln Ps by P is equal to delta Hv by R T naught Ts. In the numerator it becomes T naught minus Ts by solving this bracket. Now again T naught minus Ts is delta Tf. So putting the value, we have ln Ps by P is equal to delta Hv by R delta Tf by T naught Ts. But as the solution is dilute, we have to apply the same thing that we applied to our previous slide. So we can write ln Ps by P is equal to delta Hv by R delta Tf by T naught square. This equation is also important. Give it equation number 3. Now what we will do, we will have to find the relation for solid liquid equilibrium, but in that graph we have no solid liquid curve. So what we can do, we can find indirectly. What we can do, we can subtract equation 3 from equation 2. So the relation will become ln P naught by P minus ln Ps by P is equal to delta Hs by R delta Tf by T naught square minus delta Hv by R delta Tf by T naught square. Now the equation 2 came from solid to vapors. The equation 3 came from liquid to vapors. Now we have to find from solid to liquid. We can assume that solid to gases, we can split into 2 parts, solid to liquid, liquid to gas. Now if we subtract liquid to gas, it becomes a solid to liquid. That's why we have used the subtraction of equation 3 from equation number 2. Now this factor is common. Delta Tf by T naught square R is also common. So the equation reduces to, now this is log x minus log y. It is equal to log x divided by log x divided by y. Okay, this is a very common mathematical expression. Log x minus log y is equal to log x divided by y. We have used this relation here. Okay, so log x is p naught by p divided by ps by p. It is better to put a bracket here so that we can say log is on the whole factor is equal to delta Tf by RT naught square is common delta H minus delta Hv. Now what is delta Hs? Delta Hs is the enthalpy of sublimation, means solid to gas. Solid to gas we can write solid to liquid, liquid to gas. Delta Hv is enthalpy of vaporization, means liquid to gas. So if we subtract this, this will become liquid to solid to liquid. Let us try to see. Delta Hs is sublimation. Sublimation means solid, okay, solid to gas. Okay, suppose we put G as gas. This is Hv is liquid to gas. Now this is solid to gas, we can write solid to liquid plus liquid to gas. Now if we subtract the liquid to gas, what will it become? Solid to liquid, which we call it enthalpy of fusion. Amount of heat required to convert a substance from solid state to liquid state is called enthalpy of fusion. The difference is delta HF. So the equation reduces to ln P naught by PS. Now if we solve it, P will get cancelled out. It will reduce to P naught by PS is equal to delta TF by RT naught square into delta HF. Give it equation number 4. Now we have successfully get delta TF. Now we need mole fraction. A mole fraction will come from Rolle's law, which states that P naught minus Ps by P naught is equal to x2, where P naught minus Ps by P naught is the relative lowering of vapor pressure when we add a non-volatile solute to a solvent, and x2 is the mole fraction of the solute. This relation, you can check the derivation of this relation in my lecture on solutions, and I have kept the link in the description section of the video. Now this can be rearranged to 1 minus Ps by, so this can be rearranged to P naught by P naught is 1 minus Ps by P naught is equal to x2. We have to apply the same method that we applied to the derivation for elevation in boiling point. Now Ps by P naught, we can take it on right hand side, x2 will come left. We can write Ps by P naught is equal to 1 minus x2. Now taking, now we need the value of ln P naught by Ps. So we will take the natural log. It becomes ln Ps by P naught is equal to ln 1 minus x2. But again, we need value of P naught by Ps. It is the value of Ps by P naught. So we will take the reciprocal. So when we take the reciprocal ln P naught by Ps, a negative sign will appear here, minus natural log of 1 minus x2. Now it's mathematical. So x2 is the mole fraction of solute, and for dilute solution its value is very small. So we can have a mathematical expression of ln minus 1 minus x2 as a infinite series given by, this series is true when x2 is small, and for dilute solution x2 is very small. ln 1 minus x2 is equal to minus x2 minus 1 by 2 x2 square minus 1 by, it is a mathematical formula to expand ln 1 minus x2 when x2 is small. Now x2 is small, so we can neglect x2 square and x2 cube. The higher terms can be neglected, and so the relation will become ln 1 minus x2 is approximately equal to minus x2, but we need the value of minus ln 1 minus x2. So negative sign will come here. Minus ln 1 minus x2 is approximately equal to x2. So we can put the value of minus ln 1 minus x2 in equation number 5. We will get ln p naught by ps is equal to x2. Now we can put this value in equation number 4. So the equation number 4, this comes out to be x2 is equal to delta hf by r, delta tf by t naught of square, and we can rearrange it to a form similar to the form that we have observed in elevation in boiling point. Delta tf is equal to rt naught square x2 divided by delta tf, where delta hf, where delta tf is the depression in freezing point, x2 is the mole fraction of solute, and delta hf is the molar enthalpy of fusion. Now we will reduce this relation in terms of molality. Let us see how we can do it. So suppose that N2 moles of solute are dissolved in N1 moles of the solvent. So mole fraction of solute, which is given by number of moles of solute divided by number of moles of solvent plus number of moles of solute. But the solution is very dilute, so we can neglect N2 from the denominator, and we can write x2 is approximately equal to N2 by N1 when the solution is dilute. The condition is solution has to be dilute. Now suppose W2 gram of solute are dissolved in W1 gram of solvent, and M2 and M1 are the weight of solute. So we can write N2, mole fraction of solute, is equal to weight of solute divided by molecular weight of solute. We have assumed the weight as W2. Number of moles of solvent is equal to W1, weight of solvent divided by molecular weight of solvent, because we have assumed W1 is the weight of solvent. Now putting the value of N2 and N1, the equation becomes x2 is equal to W2 divided by M2 whole divided by W1 divided by M1, and this can be rearranged to W2 into M1 divided by W1 into M2. Now put the value of x2 in equation number 6 that we have already derived. So the relation becomes delta Tf is equal to RT naught square by delta HF W2 M1 W1 M2. We just have put the value of x2, okay, that we have calculated from here. Now what we will do, we will take M1 in the denominator of delta HF. So we can write delta TF is equal to RT naught square delta HF by M1 W2 divided by W1 M2. But delta HF by M1 is LF, which is latent heat of vaporization per gram. If we divide molar heat of fusion by its molecular weight, it becomes heat of vaporization per gram, and we denote it by LF. So the equation reduces to delta TF is equal to RT naught square divided by LF into W2 divided by W1 into M2. Now we need molality here. Now what is the formula for molality? Molality is defined as number of moles of solute per kilogram of the solvent. Number of moles of solute means weight of solute, which is W2. We have assumed the weight as W2. So let us write the formula for molality. It is W2 weight of solute divided by molecular weight of solute M2 per kilogram of the solvent. So we have 1000 here, okay, and weight of solvent V1. This factor gives number of moles of solute per kilogram of the solvent. From this expression, we can calculate W2 divided by W1 M2. W2 divided by W1 M2 is take 1000 to this side, M by 1000. Okay, so m by 1000 is this W2 divided by W1 M2. Okay, so putting the value of W2 divided by W1 M2 here, so we will get the relation delta TF is equal to RT naught square by LF M by 1000 that we calculate using this relation, or we can write delta TF is equal to RT naught square divided by 1000 LF into M, where M is molality defined as number of moles of solute per kilogram of the solvent. Now R is constant at a particular temperature. T naught is also constant because it is a freezing point of pure solvent, which is a constant value. 1000 is a number. So for a particular solvent, LF is also constant, means this whole factor is constant. So we can give this whole factor a new name Kf, which is equal to RT naught square divided by 1000 LF, and it is constant. Its name is molar depression constant, or it is also called cryoscopic constant. So this equation reduces to delta TF is equal to Kf into M, where Kf is RT naught square divided by 1000 LF. So that was the relation that we had to derive. And this relation, derivation of this relation is exactly similar to the derivation that we did earlier for elevation in boiling point. The only difference is that we had to apply the Clausius-Clapeyron equation twice. Just that. All other method is same. Now, if m is 1, means suppose molarity of solution is 1, then delta TF is equal to KF. So from these two relation, we will give definition of KF, that molar depression constant denoted by Kf is defined as the depression. Delta TF is a depression in freezing point when the molality of solution is 1. So molar depression constant is defined as the depression in freezing point when molality of solution is unity. That means if we experimentally measure the depression in freezing point for a 1 molar solution, then the value will be taken equal to Kf. Now we will see the validity of this equation similar to the one that we did for elevation in boiling point. Now this relation shows that delta TF is directly proportional to capital small m molality, means if the molality of solution is high, delta TF should also be high. So we can carry out the experiments to determine delta TF for two different solutions of different molality. So if the delta TF for a concentrated solution comes out to be high, then we will say that this equation is valid. Similarly, we can have the value of Kf for a particular solvent is found to be constant and independent of the solute and concentration of the solution. So Kf, value of Kf, how experimentally we can calculate the value of Kf by measuring delta Tf and M. So what we can do, we can take water as solvent. We can choose two solutes. One is sugar and other is urea. Suppose we have chosen two solvents, urea and sugar, and we calculated Kf. Now, if Kf comes out to be same, then we will say Kf is constant and our equation is valid. Similarly, it can be checked by varying the concentration of the solution. The value of Kf should not change. Now, the value of Kf for some common solvents are presented in this table. This is just for your reference. No need to remember the values. Like for water, it is 1.86. And at the end, we will conclude that depression in freezing point is a colligative property. Why? Because its value is a function, as Kf is constant, its value is a function only of concentration of the solution, and it is independent of the nature of the solution, sorry, nature of the solute. The value of delta TF depends only upon the number of particles of solute and is independent of the nature of solute. So we will say delta TF is a colligative property. Now let us see how we can use it to determine the molecular weight of solute. We have the relation delta TF is equal to KF into M, where M is molality. So the formula for molality is weight of solute divided by molecular weight of solute into 1000 divided by weight of solvent. So putting the value of M in this expression becomes delta TF is equal to KF into W2 by M2 into 1000 by W1. We have to calculate weight of unknown solute. So we have W2 we know we have to calculate the molecular weight of solute. So M2 becomes equal to 1000 KF W2 divided by W1 into delta TF. So to calculate the molecular weight of unknown solute, KF we know, W2 we know how much solute we have added, W1 is the weight of solvent we also know. We just have to calculate depression in freezing point experimentally, so we can calculate the molecular weight of unknown solute. Now this method of determining molecular weight of solute by measuring depression in freezing point is called cryoscopic method. Now we will see how to determine delta TF experimentally. How we can determine delta TF? There are basically two methods. First method is Beckmann's method. So the experimental setup of this method is quite simple and it is shown here. Basically, the inner tube, this tube is called inner tube. Its another name is freezing tube. So the solvent whose freezing point had to be determined is taken into this tube. Okay, so this is the solvent suppose whose freezing point we have to determine. Then it has a side tube. This is the side tube from which we can add solute to make it solution. Now we have, because we have to calculate the freezing point of pure solvent as well as freezing point of solution. Now this whole tube is put in a outer tube called air jacket. Its function is for slow and uniform cooling. So we put it into a air jacket. This whole apparatus containing this thermometer and this inner tube and outer tube is put into a freezing mixture. Freezing mixture is simple nothing. It can be ice plus salt. It becomes a freezing mixture. It is used to achieve temperatures below freezing point of water, below 0 degree Celsius. Now what we have to do, we have to first put the solvent here and note the freezing point of this pure solvent. Then we will add solute here, then a known amount of solute here, and we will note the freezing point of the solution. So the difference of freezing point of solution and solvent will give the depression in freezing point, which is the difference of freezing point of pure solvent minus freezing point of solvent in solution. So that's how the freezing point is determined using Beckmann's method. The second method is called Rast method, and in this method actually we measure melting point. So what is melting point? It is the temperature at which the liquid and solid phases of a substance coexist in equilibrium, or in simple words, the temperature at which a solid substance is converted into liquid is called its melting point. Now we know that a substance melts at exactly the same temperature as it freezes. Now we know that freezing point of water is 0 and 0 is also the melting point of ice. So freezing point and melting point, they are more or less same things. So this is the apparatus which is used to calculate the melting point of solid substances. It is a simple beaker contain paraffin wax, which we will heat with the help of a Bunsen burner. So the substance whose melting point has to be determined is put in this small capillary, and it is attached to a thermometer to note the temperature. We put the whole apparatus in hot paraffin wax and observe it by naked eye. So we have to note the temperature when the solid just starts melting. Okay, so this can be indicated by the formation of meniscus. So after some time the whole solid will melt, so we will get whole liquid state. So this is called the temperature at which melting just started. This is the temperature at which the solid has completely melted. So the melting point is the mean of these two temperatures. Generally, the substances which are crystalline, they have sharp melting point. Sharp melting point means the difference between these two temperature will be very less, 1 degree C or 2 degree C. But the substances which are amorphous, they do not have sharp melting point. So there is a lot of difference between the temperature at which melting starts and the temperature at which it has completely melted. So that's why we take the average values. So the second principle on which it is based, that camphor has a molar high value of molar depression constant 40 degrees C. Means 1 molar solution of camphor will give you a depression in freezing point of 40 degrees Celsius, which is a very high value and can be determined using a ordinary thermometer. We don't require specialized thermometer. Such type of temperatures can simply be measured with the ordinary thermometer. Now, what we have to do, first we take the pure camphor. In this method, camphor acts as solvent. Okay, so we determine its melting point by this apparatus and note down its melting point. Then we prepare a homogeneous mixture of the substance in camphor, the substance whose melting point, whose molecular weight has to be determined. We make mixture with camphor. Suppose it is naphthalene. Suppose we have to measure the molecular weight of naphthalene. So what we do is we prepare a homogeneous mixture of naphthalene in camphor. So this can be done by heating by melting camphor and naphthalene together and then again solidifying them, so that will give you a homogeneous mixture. Now we, to prepare the solution, one precaution has to be taken is that weight of camphor is taken 10 times the weight of sample to get accurate measurements. Now we determine, after preparing the mixture, we determine the melting point of the mixture. Now we have determined the melting point of pure camphor. We have determined the melting point of the mixture. Mixture means when we add, mixture is a solution of naphthalene in camphor. So the melting point of mixture will be less than pure camphor. So by the difference in the melting point of these two will give you the depression in freezing point delta TF, and to determine the molecular weight we can apply this formula. W2 we know because we have taken the known weight of naphthalene. W1 we also know because we have also taken the known weight of camphor. Delta TF we have measured experimentally by, it is the difference in melting point of pure camphor and melting point of mixture. So that's how RAST method is done. Students of BSc final, they have this experiment in their laboratory practice. So they do their both these experiments, Beckman as well as RAST method. So that was all for depression in freezing point. If you liked the video, please do subscribe my channel and also hit the bell icon so you can get notification whenever I upload a video. Thank you very much.